you to the first inter-house intermediate division debate for the intermediate division. So the topic for today is the ICSE examinations should be done away with. So I'll introduce the participants. From Foy House, we have Shriyansh Goyal and Ananya Verma. From Pal House, we have Naomi Ross and Vardhan Agarwal. From Allen House, we have Aryan Sahu and Soumya Gupta. From Convent House, we have Adya Bhaskar and Chinmay Joshi. May I remind the speakers that they shall be given 4 minutes to express their views. After 3 minutes, a bell shall be rung, and after the 4th minute, the second bell shall be rung. After a speaker has concluded his or her debate, members of the other teams are permitted to ask 2 questions. If they do not do so within 30 seconds, the speaker will be awarded full marks for rebuttal. So I do urge all of you to ask questions. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Shriyansh Goyal from Foy House to express his views.
Have you ever wondered what the acronym ICSE would actually expand to? An infuriating calamity or stressful earthquakes, and most certainly an irrelevant complication of stressful episodes. A very good afternoon to Madam Chairperson, Honorable Judges, and this august House. Yes, you heard me correctly. But before I'm marked as a clear victim of exam phobia, allow me to present some constructive and very logical arguments supporting why we can do away with the ICSE examination. Let us begin with the first piece of evidence that I have already presented to you by calling them stressful. Some of the arguments put forward by the promoters of the ICSE examinations are that they are a pre-rehearsal for a grade 12 board exams, they help us gauge our level among other students, and since the paper is made and evaluated by teachers who are not from your school, they give you a chance to evaluate your performance better. I totally disagree. We sit for examinations almost all of our student lives. So do we really need a pre-rehearsal? As for gauging my level among other students, I would like to share with you a quote by Laura Henry. Your exam results do not define you as a person and do not predict your future. How I wish that a particular boy in a school in Bokaro, another one in Delhi, and yet another girl in Madhya Pradesh had heard these words. One fell into depression and the other 2 are no more. Why can't the grade 10 examinations be conducted by the school where we have been studying for nearly all of our lives? All the teachers sitting in this auditorium are not just excellent teachers, but also just and fair evaluators who set excellent papers that will help me discover my potential and gauge my progress. For an ICSE examiner checking my paper and nothing but just an impersonal roll number, I could easily have written nothing in the paper after a tragic incident at home, but he will never know and fail me. Have you noticed how your tuition classes and restrictions increase before your ICSE examinations? Beta, put everything on hold this year because you have your ICSE examinations. It's a sad sentence we are all familiar with. So no debates, panel discussions, parties, football or swimming this year. But these are important. Do all of us leave school after grade 10 examinations? And even when we do, the school does provide us with a perfectly valid report card, doesn't it? Some may argue that not conducting the ICSE examinations will lead to a further drop in the quality of our school education. But the unfortunate truth is, our exam-centric system has pushed the quality of our education so low that it cannot plumb further. Teaching only for tests is all that happens in our schools, and this practice should be stopped. Today, these examinations mostly serve the interests of education bureaucracies, the coaching industry, test preparation publishers, and the unscrupulous entrepreneurs who try to make a quick buck by exploiting the hopes and insecurities of parents. The rush to complete the syllabus, the 2 acts of the Merchant of Venice, the chapters in my mathematics book, the physics book, and all for what? The ICSE examinations promote the jar approach. Stuff it all in. But our heads are not jars, are they? They are fertile stretches of imagination and creativity which the ICSE examinations render arid and fallow. True learning never exhausts the mind. I love Albert Einstein, not just for his theory of relativity, but for what he said. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Carlos.
Mr. Speaker, the ICSE boards encourage the most academically demotivated students to open a book and study. Even they know that the board examinations matter a lot. Please comment.
That's an interesting question. I would like to answer it for sure. You see, the ICSE board examinations do create a pressure on the students, but instead of making the students learn or what they are taught, they focus on basically mugging up the syllabus, because there's a pressure on the teachers to complete the syllabus also. So instead of focusing on exactly what the students learn, teachers focus on mugging up the syllabus, and this is not beneficial for the students. Thank you.
Yes, Carlos. Mr. Speaker, why do you think we should be done away with the ICSE boards when we can adapt to the CBSE grading system? Like, why throw away the entire system when we can just change the grading of it? Please comment on that.
Thank you. Sure, CBSE is a different board, but I think the main concept behind those examinations is the same. Both are meant for testing the students. However, they are mainly focusing on mugging up the syllabus instead of using it for practical learning and experience in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrant. I now call upon Ananya Verma to express her views.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Joseph Kennedy. How does one expect oneself to cope with the immense pressure that comes later on in life while preparing for an Ivy League examination or the ICSE examination or other competitive examinations when my opponents are so eager to do away with the comparatively less complex ICSE examinations? Aren't we being impulsive? Good afternoon to the August House. As my first constructive argument, I would like to tell you what the ICSE has to offer. Immense future potential. The ICSE curriculum encourages an analytical mind and provides global content. This has helped students pursue higher studies abroad. Since the students pursuing the ICSE curriculum have a strong base in English, it gives them an edge. Rote memory, syllabus, and difficulty levels are common complaints. However, let me give you a simple example. The 20 marks that you are given for your creative project assignments. What do? Cut and paste from the net, right? So why blame education being boring when you make it boring? A child studies seriously for the ICSE examination as he or she knows that the questions could come from anywhere. While on the other hand, for our home examinations, our teachers are kinder and give us only selected portions. But is life going to be just as kind? Are your future employers going to be understanding if you haven't understood basic concepts? The ICSE curriculum is one such basic objective platform that helps you understand your potential and your strengths. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there has to be something that separates the ICSE examinations from our regular home examinations. Otherwise, why would I be standing here debating on this topic? Definitely not to sound ridiculous. According to the proposition, the greatest argument against the so-called ICSE demon is stress. It's like something to think about. However, are you sure they are not replacing the word excuses with stress? Is chalking out a plan for your future too stressful? However, spending hours and hours and hours on social media strangely does not bring on any stress. The ICSE offers you a variety of subjects to choose from. I use the word choose. And if what you choose brings on stress, then you need to choose wisely and not do away with the ICSE examinations. Begin your preparations on time, learn to enjoy studies like you do other things, and believe me, there will be manageable stress. Oh yes, the parental pressure. What will the neighbor say if I don't do well or if I fail? The what will people say syndrome. This sentence has killed more dreams than anything else in this world. And if you become a victim, then the ICSE examinations are the least of your problems. For the information of this August House, I would like to tell you the students securing at least 33% in their ICSE examinations are declared as pass. They're not asking you for a lot. Since my friends are so determined to get away with the ICSE examinations, it would be no surprise if they would want the ISC examinations to be cancelled in the coming years. The funny thing about demands and student demands is that they never end. Okay, so if it were to be announced that the ICSE examinations have been cancelled, how many of you would still take studies seriously? Let's have a show of hands. Majority won't, right? That proves my point. I would like to conclude with this fantastic quote that is the cornerstone of my debate. Do not fear failure. Do not fear failure, but rather fear not trying. Proud to oppose the motion, and I never more Foy House, asking you to seek and ye shall find. Thank you.
Thank you. Question? Yes, Alan.
You said in your debate, ma'am, that the ICSE examinations opens future opportunities. But today universities and colleges don't focus a lot on board results but see many other aspects of students. So why should we have the ICSE examinations?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer. I was assuming you would ask me that question. So, every field has an obstacle. And if you are so eager to rush and skip every step, I'm so sorry, you're going to fall flat on your face. You cannot just begin something with something difficult. Everything has steps. You have to follow it stepwise. You can't just skip steps. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, have you not considered the lives that have been lost in the process of these boards? Are those lives not more important than cancelling the boards to you? Please comment on that.
Thank you for your question, Madam Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer. I would like to answer your question with this fantastic quote. Stress does not kill. What does is your reaction to it. Are you sure that stress is contributing, that the ICSE examinations are contributing to your stress, not the unrealistic expectations of the society? They do not know your potentials, so why are you becoming a victim of what people will say? If you are eager to get good marks, then take studies as a responsibility, ma'am, and not as pressure. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
I now call upon Naomi Ross of Foy House to express her views.
With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to begin. If you plug in a charger to charge your device and you don't see the little lightning sign pop up, you customarily take the charger out and plug it back in, and it works. Ladies and gentlemen, almost everything will work again if you just unplug it for a while, including you yourself. Good afternoon, respected adjudicators, Madam Chairperson, and the House at large. The topic at hand this afternoon is that the ICSE 10th grade board examinations should be done away with, and I will be speaking resolutely for the topic. I would like to begin by gathering your attention to one of the most important points to think about when it comes to giving an examination, which is the colossal amount of pressure an individual has to bear when sitting for an ICSE board examination. With the 10th grade boards around the bend, we see a lot of students fighting off nervousness and anxiety. Thanks to the exorbitant hype about board examinations, the rise of poor performances are leading several youngsters into depression, and they are even harboring suicidal tendencies. And then the question arises in their minds, why do I fail even after working so hard? Now, I'm not standing here stating that children all over the world are dying because they have to sit for an examination. But these very examinations we are talking about today are one of the many reasons students are going through stress and apprehension, which might lead to worse situations. And ladies and gentlemen, this very thought is deplorable. My opponents might have said or might say that our class 10 board results might help us in our future. For example, they'll help us getting into a good college or institution. I agree with you. However, your 10th grade board examination results is in no way a measure of your ability to understand things. It simply just reflects your ability to memorize those things. Okay, I agree, not everybody is bad at studies and only memorizes and writes down information. But let's say the grades obtained by you are insufficient when it comes to your choice of further education. Do you really want to deal with all these useless situations? It's time we get rid of these dilemmas. These board examinations we are giving are just pieces of paper on which an individual has written down information he or she has memorized months or weeks before the examination. Therefore, a 2, 3, 4 hour long examination paper does not and cannot judge your potential. Do not let one bad grade define your abilities. It's just a minor setback. How you choose to overcome it is what sets you apart from the rest. My opponents today are making it come across as if studying is the ultimate key to a successful future and successful life. No, my dear opponents, you need to open your minds a little bit more, because there have been and there are many people who did not do very well in school but are living a very successful, very comfortable life, and people who did great in school but ended up being mediocre in their professional life. Consequently, ladies and gentlemen, nothing is permanent, and a 10th grade board examination paper is definitely not permanent, and it will not be a very big deal if the ICSE 10th grade board stop being conducted. Do dreams, goals and adventures require a mark sheet? No academic exam has the power to end your abilities. People out there have dreams and goals which have nothing to do with studies. And it's not that we are arguing and debating about cancelling education for students. We're just discussing about getting rid of the 10th grade board examinations. These exams do not bring a very huge difference in the education system, and students will still have proper education with or without these examinations. Toppers, average and below average students will have to work hard and smart in more or less the same amount if they want to have a successful future. In other words, board examinations are by no means the deciding judge for your future. I would like to end by saying, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. There are many things in life which are more central, more crucial, more critical, substantial, significant and serious. And ladies and gentlemen, getting the ICSE 10th grade board examinations done away with will definitely not be the end of the world. Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Alamos.
You said in your debate, ma'am, that some students go into depression and develop suicidal tendencies. So do you think that the ICSE examinations are solely the reason people are going into depression, but not the lack of support or the guidance that they should receive from their parents and teachers? Please comment.
Thank you for your question. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer. As I mentioned in my debate, I'm not saying that, I'm going to give an exam, so I will die. The parental pressure that you're talking about, the pressure is on the ICSE board examinations. Because of the board examinations, that pressure is coming. If there were no boards, there would be no pressure. Thank you.
Yes, Florence.
Madam Speaker, don't you think that pressure that's put by the ICSE examination is of two types, necessary and unnecessary? If you're taking unnecessary stress and causing self-harm, don't you think that's your responsibility, because you're supposed to take your studies as responsibilities and not as stress?
Thank you for your question. The stress which we are getting, we will obviously not take unnecessarily stress. Nobody is going to do that. The stress, people have lost lives because of these board examinations, and they hold little to no purpose in your future. Do we really want to compare a mark sheet, a piece of paper, with somebody's emotional and physical values? Somebody is taking stress and they are dying. So the simple solution would not be to, deal with the stress, but simply remove these board examinations. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I now call upon Vardhan Agarwal to express his views.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for when students are arguing that they should give examinations or not. Greetings to the House at large. Today, I, Vardhan Agarwal from Foy House, shall present my views against the motion on the topic being debated in the House today. The ICSE examinations should be done away with. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a student in class 10 studying in a school following ICSE board. And I know the value of my education, and I have to think about my future too. Some of us present here are preparing for the ICSE boards. We study like any other student, and now you tell me that tomorrow you don't want the ICSE certificate? ICSEs encourage studying to the most academically demotivated students. Not a single person can stand up and deny this. Let's be honest, people, except for the 10s and 12s, who is actually studying? And for people who have already decided to raise their hands, it was a rhetorical question. When we are working for it, we surely know the value of it. Coming to the class 10 examinations, we all know they are hard, but it's all about dealing with basics and everything you have learned until now. Then why shouldn't we have the ICSE examinations to give us students that satisfaction? It is tough, true, but one can and has to learn how to deal with and cope with pressure. Literature, English, language are one of the best in India. ICSE prepares us for abroad too. It is a very prestigious board as it is considered so by the people. ICSE has one of the best formats and methods of preparation for the board examinations. A lot of parents, including ours, support ICSE to be better than other boards in India. Is it for no reason? It provides a strong foundation for life. But all of these hold no value if we don't test ourselves. Why should the ICSE examinations be done away with? ICSE prepares us for the ISE, which ensure good performance, good marks, good college, and a good career. Any college you visit, irrespective of the fact that it is in India or abroad, the ICSE and ISE certificate would hold a lot of value. People ask you which class are you in, you say class 10, they say, oh Lord. Boards, they are CBSE or ICSE, you say ICSE, you get greeted by another oh Lord. Even people regard a student giving ICSEs as a genius in that matter. Unlike other boards, the ICSE examinations have great rules. No unnecessary tests and a separate course for each subject will not only help but encourage students to score even better. Ladies and gentlemen, even teachers would agree with me that in ICSE, you have to work hard to get good grades, like in any other examination, but you have to work even harder to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the advantage that the ICSE gives us class 10 students. With these points that the ICSE gives us that the proposition has clearly overlooked, I would like to add one last point. There is no point in education without tests, and I believe that the ICSE examinations are one of the best. In conclusion, I would like to point out a fact that is very prominent in Wynberg-Allen. We get coffee and we get cookies inside of our dormitories during ICSEs. Need I say more? Finally, a few lines for our current ICSEs. In my experience, there's only one motivation, and that is desire. No reasons or principles can contain it or stand against it. Be miserable or motivate yourself. What has to be done, it's always your choice. If you really want to do something, I'm sure you will find a way. If not, I'm sure you will find an excuse. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, don't you think that the ICSE examinations focus on mugging up instead of focusing on learning? Please comment.
Thank you so much for your question, Mr. Director. I strongly believe that the ICSE does not focus on mucking up. It's all depends on the student's understanding. The ICSE paper has been set so that the students can answer those questions only if they have thoroughly understood the concept. Thank you so much.
Yes, Madam. Mr. Speaker, you defended boards so much in your debate. Don't you think the cons of boards outweigh the pros? Are coffee and cookies enough? Please comment on that.
May I remind you, Madam Interjector, that the coffee and cookies was simply a point that I would like to point out in Wynberg-Allen. But the pros of boards are definitely more than the cons. As I mentioned in my debate, that most of the students, even if they didn't do so well, they get passed. They don't fail the ICSE examinations. So don't you think that there's a cliche that ICSE gives stress to students? Don't you think that the internal examination that the school conducts will give more stress to students than ICSE, even if ICSE gives pretty much a full guarantee for a student to pass? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I request people in the front to sit up and not sleep and not talk when someone has something to say. I now call upon Aryan Sahu from Allen House to express his views.
With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to start my debate. Natasha was the only child of Mr. and Mrs. Kapoor. They were overjoyed the day she was born. She was their little princess and the love of their lives. Today, her picture has a garland of flowers around it, and it hangs on a wall in the house. If you look at that picture, you see a beautiful face smiling at you. You see bright, sparkling eyes full of dreams, none of which came true. And you know why? Because the ICSE examinations snuffed out those dreams. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I urge you all to ask yourselves, what after all is the purpose of an examination? To test how much knowledge we have acquired, my worthy opponents might say. But the manner in which the ICSE papers are set requires us to regurgitate memorized facts and figures that we forget soon after sitting for these exams. Barring a subject or two, all that these examinations promote is rote learning. The proponents of these exams completely disregard the fact that students are not mere index numbers. They are individuals with their unique strengths and abilities who respond differently to different methods of evaluations and assessments. Some respond well to project work. Some respond well to short tests and quizzes. There are several students who struggle to display their knowledge on paper but excel in oral tests and questioning sessions. The point I am trying to make is that just because these students find it difficult to perform well in pen and paper examinations like the ICSE examinations does not mean in any way that they are less bright than the students who perform well in such examinations. Is it not very wrong to thrust a flawed and unfair system of evaluation on hapless students who are still figuring out what they have to do when they grow up? Can you possibly imagine how a dyslexic child would feel at the thought of sitting for these examinations? How terribly demoralizing it would be for students who struggle to put down their thoughts on paper. The ICSE examinations crush the thoughts of several students every year. The irony is that on growing up, most adults don't even remember where they put their ICSE mark sheet. And you know why? Because it really does not define who you are or what your future careers will be. In fact, colleges and universities in India today give greater weightage to the CUET examination than the ISE result. Even they conduct their own entrance tests. Why then are we needlessly burdening students with the ICSE examinations? Finland, which has the best education system in the world, has no board exams whatsoever. Teachers there help children to think of ways by which their learning can be assessed, and those suggestions are respected and incorporated. Complete strangers who know nothing about us can assess us only on the basis of a marking scheme that is handed to them cannot possibly be accurate in judging how much or how little we know. Wouldn't it be better to let our teachers devise ways of testing us because they know us better than the ICSE Council? If the ICSE exams could take on human form, I would say to them, you may know how much I know, but you simply don't, and you never will, because I am much, much more than a couple of digits printed on a lifeless sheet of paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Yes, Carol.
Mr. Speaker, don't you think that the ICSE boards provide us incentive and like motivation to study? You mentioned Natasha. Don't you think that she would have tried hard to fail tried hard to succeed before she failed and ended her life?
Thank you for your question, Madam Interjector. With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to answer your question. So, the innumerous pressure that students are put under and the innumerous stress levels they are put under at a developing age in which their mind is developing, they cannot behold so much stress, because even if you see students who prepare for competitive examinations, they also take wrong steps and commit suicide. So how can we expect 15, 16-year-old teenagers to cope up with so much stress levels and not be thinking about negative impacts on their health? So I think you got your answer. Thank you.
Yes, compliments.
Mr. Speaker, don't you think that the fragile minds of students and the society's overhype over the board results are responsible for the death of students more than the ICSE board? Please come.
Thank you for your question. So I would like to answer by saying that why does the society pressure students? Because our society thinks that the ICSE boards decides people's careers, but it actually doesn't. As I mentioned in my debates, colleges and universities do not focus on the board results. They focus on other aspects. So the society has imaged board results as if they decide our future. The core reason for society pressuring students to perform well in their board exams is because of the ICSE examination. If the ICSE examinations would not be there, why would the society pressurize students to perform well in those boards? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arun. I now call upon Soumya Gupta from Allen House to express her views.
With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to begin my debate. Life isn't easy. The world outside our school gates is a tough and highly competitive world. A world where you need to be able to cope with immense pressure and stress, because if you aren't able to, you just might fall to pieces. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am not trying to frighten you by painting a bleak picture of life after school. I am simply pointing out to you that life puts us to the test every day in both small and significant matters. When it does, we have a choice between facing these tests and becoming stronger in the process, or evading them and becoming ill-equipped to deal with greater challenges that come our way. In the same way, sitting for the ICSE examinations helps us to prepare for more important examinations that we will not be able to avoid as we grow older, like the ISE or the Class 12 examinations, where securing a good percentage greatly helps in getting a good scholarship in a much sought after college or university. To excel in anything in life, practice and preparation is required. Our current batch of ISC students were more nervous than the previous batches because they had not taken the ICSE examination. Preparing well for each examination because you know that a complete stranger will be checking your paper. Sitting for a stretch of 3 hours in an environment that is different from the comforting walls of a familiar classroom. Having to comprehend and decipher each question and problem in the question paper without having the luxury of asking your teacher to explain it to you. Ensuring that you enter your index number correctly and number all your questions correctly, because once you hand in your paper, you cannot make any changes. Managing your time, because you cannot ask the invigilator for a few extra minutes. All this becomes a little less stressful in the ISC examination if you have done it before at the ICSE level. Whatever career we may choose for ourselves, at some point we will have to sit for or take examinations. CUET, JEE, CLAT, SAT, NEET, UPSC, CA, these are just some of the exams that students who pass out of school have to sit for. To be able to succeed in these exams, one needs to be able to stay calm under pressure, think fast, write quickly and accurately. The ICSE examinations teach us to do just that. They also help us in identifying our strengths and weaknesses. When we move up to class 11, some students change their stream because the ICSE examinations act as an eye-opener for them. They realize that the subjects that they had written off as dull and uninteresting are what they could actually excel in, and vice versa. New doors of opportunity then open for them that they never even realized existed. Whether you become a sports person, a chef, an actor, a doctor, a business person, or a politician, your knowledge, skills, and expertise will be judged at some point. So, the sooner you start preparing for such situations, the stronger you will be in the long haul. Doing away with the ICSE examinations just to shield us from stress and anxiety will only make us weak and ill-equipped to deal with life. Nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. A butterfly must break out of its cocoon to spread its wings. Thank you.
Thank you. Question. Yes, Foy House.
Madam Speaker, you mentioned in your debate that people change their subjects in class 10 and class 11, and the ICSE, if they do bad in their exams, it acts as it gives you a hint. But since most of the people, or a lot of people change their subjects, that ICSE 10th grade exam result holds little to no purpose in your future. Please elaborate.
Thank you for your question, Madam Interjector. With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to answer. I think, like I mentioned in my debate, the ICSE examinations help us to identify our strengths and weaknesses. Some students, when they sit for the ICSE examination and have taken science or commerce as a stream, and well, they do not score particularly good in that subject, they realize that they should have never taken it in the first place. So when they go to class 11, they change that. So that is the importance of the ICSE examinations. If people were to not change their subjects per se, then they would not realize at what they were very good at or where they lag. So when they go for higher exams or in a choice of career, when they pursue a career, that is actually what helps them in choosing their pursuit or the career they want for themselves. Thank you.
Yes, Foy House.
Madam Speaker, don't you think that when we go for higher examinations such like JEE and NEET, they focus more on practical questions, whereas the ICSE focus more on theoretical learning and numericals? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Interjector. With the permission of the chairperson, I would like to answer. Well, I think that what we are focusing on here is that the ICSE examinations should be done away with. And when I say they shouldn't, I mean to say that they prepare us for higher examinations, like you mentioned, whether that be NEET or CUET or any other higher examination. What they do teach us is how to cope with the amount of stress or the anxiety you're dealing with when you sit for higher examinations as well. And if you're talking about practical questions and other questions, both the ICSE and the higher examinations have some part which is related to practical questions, obviously, and some part which is related to theoretical thinking, which you need to learn and then answer. Even all the higher examinations, whether that be NEET or JEE, they do not focus solely on practical questions. There are some theoretical questions as well, and that is in the ICSE or the ISC examinations as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I now invite Adya Bhaskar of Convent House to express her views.
students jumped off the 15th floor after their ICSE results. Times of India. 2 students commit suicide after poor scores in their ICSE boards. NDTV. Class 10 board student dies by suicide after board exam results. Indian Times. Board exams on. Noida and Ghaziabad hospitals see increase in students with depression and anxiety. New Indian Express. A class 10 student hangs himself after there was too much family pressure for the board exam results. Hindustan Times. Good afternoon to the House at large. The topic under fire today is if the ICSE board examinations should be done away with, and I, Adya Bhaskar, stand here on this podium today firmly in favor of the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by stating the century-old statement. A paper can never determine my future, and it never will. Being judged based on what you have scored when you were not even old enough to be called an adult seems highly illogical, impractical, unreasonable, irrational, and an utter waste of talent to me. We already deal with the family pressure of achieving high marks in your board examinations, the pressure of reaching up to the standards of your fellow siblings or relatives, the excruciating pressure of obtaining better scores than your peers. But if that wasn't enough, then of course, the uncle you've never met before calls you up and seems very eager to know how much you've scored in your boards. Young minds need nurturing and care to grow into responsible adults. But boards snatches away all those young minds and locks it up in a piece of rectangular paper where it's suddenly going to determine our entire future based on the formulas we've used and the places we forgot to put full stops in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 15 to 16-year-olds we are talking about today, taking their own lives over something we could bring a change in, over something we could change for the better. And I know change is chaotic, and I know change is tiring, but if we have to do it to save those thousands of lives, then we must. Coming to my next argument, dating back a few decades, 70 to 80% was the norm. But nowadays, it's a cutthroat competition, people, and anything below 90% is looked upon with disgrace and is considered to be dissatisfactory. Our day-to-day lives are already too tiring to keep up with, and by adding the burden of boards, a sense of fear of achieving less marks, a feeling of jealousy towards your peers, a feeling of worthlessness when you don't score well, creates a negative environment in which no one will be able to thrive in. So if my fellow opponents can still stand here on this podium today and say that these examinations are making our lives better, then let me burst that bubble of yours, ladies and gentlemen, and let me tell you that it does not, it never has, and it never will. With this, I rest my stance, but not my gaze. Thank you.
Ma'am, there are many students who are bright in studies but don't have financial means. Don't you think that the ICSE boards give them an opportunity and provide them with a scholarship to pursue their career or any other opportunities?
Thank you for your question, Miss Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. Well, Miss Interjector, if we are talking about those students who have less means or don't have enough means to go out into the world and pursue their dreams, then aren't you considering the fact that only a few people get those scholarships? But what about the rest of the people who are giving those examinations but are not able to score well in them? Because they're not able to score well in them, they are demotivated, and that is reflected on the suicidal cases that I have put towards in my debate today. I hope that answered your question. Thank you. Madam Speaker, don't you think that the pressure put on the child can actually be beneficial for the students if they take it optimistically and do not overdo it?
No, I do not think so, ma'am interjector. Well, the teenage years of our lives are very, very sensitive, and the amount of pressure that's been put on these young minds is very much, and that is reflected on the suicidal cases that I have stated in my debate today. So no, I do not think so, Madam Interjector. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. I now call upon Chinmay Joshi from Convent House to express his views.
With the permission of the chair, I would like to comment. Boards are the true test of your knowledge and understanding, and they prepare you for the exam called life. Good afternoon to the House at large. I, Chinmay Joshi, would like to express my views against the topic. The ICSE examinations should be done away with. Board examinations are a crucial phase in the life of every student. The aim of board examinations is to test the knowledge of a student and not his ability to muck up. This fact distinguishes them from any other examination. Getting into a prestigious college in India requires a high board percentage. Scholarships too are granted on the basis of the ICSE and ISC board performances of a student. Boards test a student's memory and analytical power. These exams encourage students to think logically. They give you a reality check on how you are expected to perform in your ISC and other examinations. Today my opponents have said that due to these examinations, both weak and brilliant students are becoming victims of mental stress. Well, let me remind you that this stress is actually beneficial for them as it acts as an introduction to the stress they are going to face in the future. If the ICSE examinations are cancelled, then the mental stress on the students will increase as they will not be prepared for the other important examinations. My opponents might consider board exams as a waste of time and resource, but they should not forget about the life lessons that these exams teach us. We learn how to manage time, cope up with stress, and understand concepts. These exams give us a push and drive to work harder and perform better than what we thought we were capable of. When an academically weak student knows that he is not as good as the toppers, he tries to work harder and push himself to achieve his goals. Board exams are an eye-opener to those students who excel in exams by rote memorization. I can guarantee you that the students who regard boards exams as a waste of time aim to get above 90% in their own ICSE exams. My answer to those people who think that ICSE examinations should be cancelled is that they are cowards and do not know how to face situations where they are being tested. Now, I would like to rest my case by saying that it was a very wise step to introduce boards, but it would be a very foolish step to cancel them as they make a student more independent and their future secure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Palans.
Mr. Speaker, you mentioned in your debate that to get into a further education institution, they require a high board percentage. But you are a bit wrong. An entrance exam is more important than a high board percentage. And okay, even if you think you need a high board percentage, what if you do not get that high board percentage?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. Exams like NEET and JEE require a student's high vote percentage in either class 12 or class 10. And even if they don't, most colleges in India, most good colleges in India require them. If a student does not achieve this goal, he can pursue other careers which are available to him. Thank you.
Yes, Convent House.
You said in your debate, sir, that the ICSE examinations are the true test of your knowledge. But what about those students who are dyslexic and they struggle to put their thoughts down on paper? So how are these pen and paper examinations like the ICSE examinations beneficial for them?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Interjector. With the permission of the chair, I would like to answer the question. Most dyslexic students do not see studies as their main career. They have other talents. So I would like to inform you that those people pursue other careers and other talents. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you, all the participants. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come up and